how you like it, yeah.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the We Don't Know TV podcast. My name is Leaf. I'm your host. This is a podcast where we watch the first episode of a show and then we talk about it. And today we are talking about Ironheart. I meant to talk about the show when it came out, but I also forgot that it came out. But I'm going to get into that later. So the premise on IMDb states, genius teenage inventor Riri Williams creates the most advanced suit of armor since Iron Man. Very presumptuous, very, I think they kind of left out the most important part of the show is that the fact that she wants to make a better suit than Iron Man, but she doesn't have the funds. So I would have probably put that in there. Like, she wants to make the most advanced suit, better suit than Iron Man but she doesn't have the money to do it. It's like, oh, okay, and or something like that. I think it's not very best foot forward for her character to have that premise. But anyways, let's not get into the weeds just yet. If it's your first time here, I go by the plot. I go through the plot beat by beat. That way you don't have to, and I don't forget anything. If you want, I was gonna start doing timestamps for like spoilers when I get into shows and stuff. But for this one, I don't. So there's nothing to really fast forward to. So you're just gonna have to be along for the ride if you want to hang out. So we start at the beginning. We get a flashback. It is Riri and her best friend Natalie, and the two of them are just kind of like chit-chatting, and Riri's like, I'm going to be bigger than Jobs, I'm going to be bigger than Gates, I'm going to be bigger than Pym, I'm going to be bigger than Tony Stark, all of them combined. And it's like, all right, you're coming in very hot, but also like she's a teenager who's also a genius, so it's kind of like, you know what I mean? Like kind of annoying, but kind of makes sense for a character. She's like, Natalie, what do you want? And she's like, I want a knight with Thor and his hammer, you know what I'm talking about? I'm like, girl, you better calm down. And she's like, I'm gonna have to cut off the video. She's like, no, I just want to be happy. But I was surprised that they had this joke in there, but I liked it because, teenagers, they want to say some wild stuff. Adults say some wild stuff, especially when you're just hanging out with your friends. So I kind of like that. It makes the world feel more lived in by even referencing Thor, because sometimes they don't even reference other heroes or heroes in general. So we get this voiceover from Riri, and I was a little worried at first, but we'll get there. Basically saying that tech is expensive, she needs money, and we get to the most divisive line of the entire show that everybody and their mom was freaking out about.
Do you think Tony Stark would be Tony Stark if he wasn't a billionaire?
And everyone online was freaking out about this, which didn't make sense. Well, out of context, I was like, I first heard it and I was like she's coming off the wrong way. But when I thought about it and I was hearing all these conversations, I was like, she has a point, and I think if you don't get her point, you're not really paying attention, which might be a hot take, but everyone's like, oh, Tony Stark built his suit in a cave with a box of scraps. Classic line. And everyone forgets that as soon as he got out of the cave, it like not exploded, but it immediately fell apart. So obviously you need the resources to make a proper suit so that your suit doesn't just fall apart, which we'll get to later, spoilers. Also, people during these conversations were bringing up Iron Man 3, where he goes in through that compound and he doesn't have all of his stuff. And it's like, yeah, he's a genius, but obviously because he didn't have his stuff, he had to make do with, I think, the stuff that the kid had in his garage or whatever. I forget where he gets the parts from. I haven't seen Iron Man 3 in a minute. But yeah, so it only helps her point by being like, hey, you need money and resources to be doing all of this crazy stuff. I mean, even Batman has to have all his money to do all the things that he does, right? So I think it only makes sense of like, hey, you need money to do things. That's the world that we live in. You know what I mean? And even at the end of this line, she says, no shade. Don't know what everyone was mad about for real. I don't think she was coming for Tony like that. She was just like, hey, you need money to get things done. But we learned that she is working on an experimental AI, and it is apparently really expensive. I mean, even now, like they're saying, like just using AI uses so much in our world. But anyways, she needs to make money, so she's been side hustling by doing people's homework for them, even though everyone's smart and they go to MIT. Someone's got to do the homework. And so that's how she's been making money. And she, again, no shade to Tony Stark, she wants to continue his legacy and revolutionize safety. As she's like doing all of this stuff, she tests out her the suit that she built. All the power goes out. Dean freaks out. She did something, everybody get out. And I just love that it's I don't know the actor's name, but it's the Dean from Community. I love Community. It's like one of my favorite shows of all time. So having him in there freaking out is a great little touch. But yeah, luckily she wasn't talking to herself. She was actually talking to the dean of her college, and she's like pleading her case of like, you know, I'm doing all of this, you know, for a reason. And the dean's like, listen, you're doing all this, but you're not moving towards your degree. Like, you're just kind of like moseying around. You're kind of fucking around. You know what I mean? And she's like, but if I do it and I get this degree, I'm just gonna end up working for a company, and they're gonna put me on a desk, and I'm gonna be like a boring pencil pusher, but like in the tech world version of it. And I don't want to be small.
You want me to be small? But I refuse. Riri, that's a hot pile of garbage.
And the dean's like, bitch, like no one's treating you small. Like, what are you talking about? She doesn't say bitch. And she's like, because they're both black. She was like, listen, I work really hard to get qualified people just like you and me in seats of power and getting them like where they need to be. And she's like, you're just not there. Like, and you keep fucking around. MIT doesn't do plagiarism, all right, for all the homework that you've been doing. And also you just caused a huge accident, which cost us a bunch of money. We have to let you go. Like, you're expelled. And you know, Riri thought she could talk her way back in, and that did not work. They give her a chance to gather her stuff, and naturally she's like, no, I'm gonna take my suit. So she grabs all of her stuff, gets her in her suit, flies away. This is where we see the AI that she has. Instead of Jarvis, she has Trevor, which is basically like Clippy, if you're old enough to even remember Clippy. Just a little pencil. And I thought it was really weird that it was like, put in like your student ID, and I was like, why would you use the school's AI in your suit? Well, I guess she had it. I don't know. I didn't like it. I didn't like it. But yeah, so he's acting up a little bit. She has to kind of like, you know, smack him around. Not physically, but he's an AI. But you know, get him to start working. She's like, can you chart a course for Chicago so I can go home? And he's like, all right, I got you. We then cut to some people that are disguised as electricians. We have Eric Andre playing the hacker, so I assumed that this wasn't going to be too much of a serious scene. He's like, call me Rampage, and everyone keeps calling him Stuart, which I thought was weird because he mentions that everyone else has a nickname but him. And I'm like, oh, if you guys are doing covert jobs, I imagine that even if you don't want to call him Rampage, you still give him some sort of nickname. That way, like, he can't lead you back. You know what I mean? Like, hello? But what do I know? Anyway, so two of them break in. The person that seems to be in charge is like, I think their nickname is Slug. They're like, yo, you need to go here, go behind this wall, and you know, the thing will be right there. They do it. They open up the wall, and the alarm immediately goes off. Yeah, the alarm immediately goes off. Stuart doesn't know what he's doing, and he's scrambling. The two people that are in there, the blood siblings, they have to fight the guards that are in there. As this is all happening, Slug, the person that seems to be in charge at the moment, loses the camera feed. They're just like, all right, like, grab the thing, get out, and let's just get out of here. So the team rendezvous with the Hood. And I'm looking at this team, and it's this weird thing of like, all right, cool. We want a team of street youths, but it also almost feels like, I don't know how to say it. But like, all right, cool. We got the white one, we got the Hispanic one, we got the black one who goes by they them. We got the other black one. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it is very, I don't want to say woke, but like, there's something about it. I'm like, this team feels weird. Like, not a natural team that kind of like came together. More of like, look, diversity. But maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm just bringing that into it. All right, I don't know. So they meet up with the Hood, and he's like, all right, job's done, everybody go home. Him and John, Parker and John, have a private conversation. They're like, yo, what should we do about Stuart? He sucks. he's like, Parker is like, man, we should fire him. Just make sure that you have a good replacement. They're like, oh, we should just get Slug to do it, the person that seemed to be in charge before. And there's like, nah, they don't have the skills necessary. We need someone new. And as they're having this conversation, Riri flies over them in her suit. This is where Trevor is like, hey, I'm monitoring your vitals, and it looks like you're like about to have like a heart attack or something like that, so like maybe you should like chill out a little bit. She's like, no, it's fine, why don't you text Xavier for me, tell him to meet me at my mom's. Turns out that she did not stabilize. The alert was going off because the inside of the suit wasn't stabilized. So the suit starts to fall apart, and she crashes into the ground and rolls a little bit, and as she falls, you see the title for this episode, or title for the show, Ironheart. And I did and didn't like it. I like the idea of it because it looks like a comic book cover, but I think seeing it is one of those things of like, oh, this doesn't look right. So I was like, we should have cut that out. And as this was happening, this is a very small thing that I enjoyed. You have this guy on the corner who's just like yelling, as some people do. And he's like, oh, Thanos was just the beginning, there's more to come. Tony Stark can't save us now because he's dead. He doesn't say that, but here's the point. And I was like, oh, he kind of does have a point. Like, when you really look at the MCU and all the things that have happened, especially like if you're someone who's older, like Gen X, and you're constantly watching the news, like shit's happening all the time. That I can't imagine how you can possibly be stable between like the first Avengers movie, like New York Invasion, Thanos, you got what, Tiamat coming out the ground. In Guardians 2, there was that giant blob that was gonna take over all of Earth, but it hit that one town. This is before Thunderbolts, but if you watch Thunderbolts, like stuff happens in that too. I'm like, damn, you can't do nothing. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, I digress. So Riri walks down the street. I'm such a child. In her broken suit, and you got some guys like, hey, Iron Chick, Iron Lady. You got some older women that are just kind of checking on her, making sure that she is okay. This little kid comes up with a wagon. He's like, hey, I can help you out. You know, you want to put your stuff in my wagon, and I'll take you wherever you gotta go, because you're like causing a scene. And I thought it was funny because they continue to walk and they start talking to each other, but she still has half of her suit on. And I'm like, if he brought the wagon, why not just take off the whole thing and, you know what I'm saying, help him pull it a little bit? You're still walking around with the suit on. It's not like you're any less inconspicuous. You know. Anyways, so as they're talking, he's like, hey, lady, what do I call you? And she's like, Riri Williams, bad girl genius. And he's like, phew, that is awful. Like, that is terrible.
Riri Williams, bad girl genius.
Hey, woo! Cause that is terrible. That's your introduction?
And he's like, by the way, my name is Landon. I was like, I like Landon. He's straightforward. Also, Riri keeps doing this like stuff like earlier when she was like, everyone's trying to keep me small, you know, and she kind of like almost like looks at the camera. It's like, bad girl genius. Almost kind of like looks at the camera, you know what I'm saying? And both times everyone's like, yo, cut that out. So I kind of like that, but I think it's also a detriment to the character, just because like she already has so much weight on her shoulders trying to take over the legacy of Tony Stark, whether her as her character wants to or not, because it's like, Tony Stark was a person in a suit and now you're a person in a suit, and you're not even, a lot of people forget about War Machine, you're not even second on the list, you're third on the list if you're not counting Pepper, if she got a suit too. So you're probably, actually, that just hit me, now you're fourth on the list, you know what I mean? So you're fighting an uphill battle. So I'm not really sure what they were trying to do, but I digress. Landon's like, yo, it was $20 to bring your stuff over here, it'll cost you an extra $5, you want me to take it upstairs? She's like, highway robbery, but she pays him. She's walking upstairs with her stuff. Right before she opens the door, she can hear her mom talking to her friends, and they're basically saying like, yo, Riri's acting out. Maybe it's because the stepdad and her best friend died, which you learn in this moment. and maybe she just doesn't know how to deal with it. And so Riri walks in, takes off her suit. Mom is surprised to see her. She's like, oh, I didn't know you were gonna be here so fast. Gives her a hug. She's like, oh, what happened to you? Like, you're still flying around that suit, that metal coffin, like you're gonna get yourself killed. She's like, I know you got kicked out of school. I bribed one of the janitors when I first got there, and they call me and give me updates on you. Unlike you never call me. And yeah, they told me that you got kicked out of school. And so we get this establishment that like Riri's not close to her mom, which is the only person that she seems to have left. So it's like really weird. Where her friend Xavier shows up and he's like, oh, hey, like you want to hang out tomorrow? And she's like, how about now? And she like grabs him and runs out the door. And the mom's like, wait, like we're not done talking. So the two of them catch up, Riri and Xavier. And he's like, most girls go out, they party, go to the club, you know what I'm saying? But you're out here building an Iron Man suit. What's up with that? And she's like, listen, I could build 1,000 suits, no one would care, but if I can build a better suit than Tony Stark, then everyone's gonna notice me. He's like, oh, so you're gonna do that here in Chicago? And she's like, no, I'm thinking like I have to go all the way to like Dubai to get like the resources I need. And he's like, you're gonna go halfway around the world just to prove a point? And she's like, yeah, but like here is just like so small. And it's interesting because she's in Chicago, which is like a major city, but I also get like from her mindset, if she's a genius, right, she probably is like, I need to be in like the best place, you know what I'm saying? It's like when people want to be actors, and it's like, even if you're in Chicago, you're probably like, I need to go to New York, you know what I mean? So I kind of get that she's like, even though she's in Chicago, it is like, no, I need to go to a place where I can really get things done and be who I want to be. So they leave from there. Xavier takes her to her stepdad's old auto shop, and there's a nice little mural that someone made of him and her best friend. And he starts to reminisce like, oh yeah, your dad used to sing all the songs or whatever. You and my sister Natalie used to hang out all the time, yada yada yada. And this whole time Riri's like clearly getting uncomfortable. Anytime either one of them gets brought up, she's just not having like a good time. She's clearly running away from her feelings about all of this and won't talk to anybody. And I'm getting some stuff from the scene to like fill up what I just said. But anyways, he's like, all right, let me take you home. Like clearly like you're not in the mood for this. So he takes her home. He gives her a mixtape or like a couple, and I'm like, do they even know what mixtapes are? You know what I'm saying? I don't know if these new kids even know what mixtapes are. Not that I'm that old, but you know what I mean? Like he like gives her like a tape. I digress. And so he's like, all right, I'll see you tomorrow. And in the background we see John, one of the guys from earlier, who was on the job, kind of like watching her and being like, Riri Williams, all right? And he walks away. So the next day, Riri and Xavier go grab some parts somewhere. Turns out they went to a different like auto shop or whatever. Riri goes to talk to Jim, who's the guy in charge, and he's like, oh hey, long time no see. He brings up the Tony Stark internship that she had at MIT. He talks about like, oh, you used to haggle me for parts. You're always running around with your best friend. What was her name again? You know what I'm saying? A lot of things that you're like, oh, she probably doesn't want to talk about all this. But John randomly comes in and he pays for her. They have a conversation outside. She's like, thanks, but like, who are you? You know what I mean? And he's like, I'm John. Shouldn't you be working, like, you're a genius. Shouldn't you be working for like a big company? Aren't you like smarter than Tony Stark? And she's like, I don't know you, so like, I don't want to talk about how I feel about Tony Stark and how I might be better than him, but he's like, I'm gonna leave it there. But I can't do anything without money or resources. And he's like, I know a guy. We got money, we got resources. You know what I'm saying? Here's a card. Think about it. She's like, if I did come by, like, when should I come by? And he's like, the sooner the better. The sooner the better. So without a second thought, she doesn't even think about it because we're in the next scene, and she goes immediately there to this pizza shop, and the doors open and she just walks on through, and I'm like, girl, where's your situational awareness? And so she just walks on through, goes in the elevator. She notices something underneath, like a blanket in the back. She goes, whatever. Gets on the elevator. Elevator stops. Timer starts. The little thing under her blanket starts smoking. They hit her up on the like the intercom. They're like, yo, you got 3 minutes to like solve the little machine that's smoking, because inside is gas mask so you don't pass out. And she said it might be this part.
Hello? This is illegal!
I'm like, you think people that put a smoke machine, not a smoke machine, but like they put knockout gas and a timer inside of an elevator for you? You think they think about legal stuff? You know what I'm saying? Like, lock in. But you know, they're watching her. They're like, oh, what's she gonna do? What's she gonna do? So she takes a little blanket, breaks the glass of, like, I don't know, the thing that's in there. Takes the glass, cuts up one of the wires from the timer that's connected to the elevator, rewires it, gets the elevator to start moving, pulls off the guardrail from the inside of the elevator. So I'm assuming it's rusty, because if not, she has superhuman strength. Pries open the elevator and walks out, and naturally she is pissed. She's like, you know, I can't believe you guys did this. Like, like, why would you do that? What's the point? And they're like, oh, well, you know, we want to see, like, you know, what would you would do? It doesn't even matter. You beat Stewart's time. She's like, who the hell is Stewart? And he's like, I'm Stewart. And she somehow knows, just from the name Stewart, she knows that it's this specific Stewart. And he's like, see, people know me by my name Rampage. It's like, it's such a dumb joke. It's like Taserface from Guardians 2. And it's like, just because you have a comedian doesn't mean like the scenes that you wrote for him are funny. Sorry, Marvel, do better. But Parker the Hood is like, listen, I see you. I see that, you know, people treat you small. Come with me. I can get you the money. I can get you the resources. I can get you the respect. Like, it's all here. Just like team up with us. And she's like, no, you guys are crazy. Let me get out of here. Tries to go through her closet. He's like, let me just show you the other way out of here. Because she didn't want to go back in the elevator. Rightfully so. And so he brings her in another room. He's like, how much would it cost for us to get you on the team? And she's like, you don't have enough. Pulls out like a duffel bag full of cash. And she's like, and he's like, he pulls out a stack. And he's like, consider this a signing bonus. If you team up with us, you do 3 jobs. We'll get you what you need. Like, you know, you're in or you're out. And obviously she's like, these don't sound like they're going to be legal. And he's like, well, yeah, you could get money the legal way. But clearly, you know what I'm saying, like, you're here. So clearly that route didn't work. And she agrees. And, you know, she is on her way. So, getting towards the end of the episode, Rui is working, and she starts to listen to Xavier's mixtape. Part way into the song, there's a voicemail from Natalie, and she's just like, you know, just kind of like talking. And Riri gets flashbacks.
Natalie?
Cutting up again. Cover for me, alright? I'll be right home.
And she's back with her stepdad and Natalie, and you know, stepdad's fixing up a car in the shop, and she's saying like, oh, you should do this part, or you know, it'll make everything faster. He's like, nah. Natalie's like, yo, I can't wait to go on road trips with this thing. Like, they're just kind of chit-chatting, and you hear some sort of commotion in the back, and then the dad pushes Riri down, goes over to Natalie, and you hear gunshots and a scream, and clearly they didn't make it. So she comes back, and she's super upset, runs in the kitchen. Mom's like, what's wrong? It sounds like you were crying. Like, what's going on here? And she's like, why did you clean up the shop? And she's like, whoa, like, what's going on? I didn't even know you cared about the shop. She's like, I called you several times to talk about this. You never answer. You never want to talk about your stepdad. You never want to talk about Natalie. Like, well, you know, what do you want me to do here? And she's like, oh, so it's my fault that you gave up on Dad's dreams. And she's like, you just got back in town. I'm going to give you a second, but like, you need to, you know what I'm saying? You need to calm that down. And she's like, I'm going to my room. And she leaves. And I felt like this scene was super weird. It felt like there wasn't like a natural like progression of the mom and Riri like butting heads enough to like get to this point. Like I know their relationship is estranged, but I don't know if that's the right word. But it just felt like they were like clashing just so that at some point later on they can be like, and now they're happy, mom and daughter together. It felt like drama for drama's sake and not like we got there to get there. I don't know if that makes sense. It just kind of felt like inserted in, like, we need more drama in this episode. And so we end the episode, we're flipping back and forth, right, between Parker and Riri. So Parker, we see him take off his shirt for some reason, and you can see his back and it looks infected. It's like his veins are all black back there. We go back to Riri. She's starting to build a new suit. It's giving a little bit of it ain't working out too good. You go back to Parker, who's getting it seems like another tattoo from John, but we can't see what it is. But he's not having a good time, and John's like, I hate doing this. Let's just take a quick break. We go back to Riri. She's trying to map her brain, I guess, to connect to her suit, and naturally she's on regular Wi-Fi, and it's like, all right, it's gonna take 4 hours, which seems too fast even by regular Wi-Fi standards, but it's not getting the weeds. She was like 4 hours, and she has to like connect to it, so she just sits there and waits for like 30 minutes. And then we kind of move on back to Parker one last time as he like puts the hood away and walks away from it. It's almost like the scene wants you to feel like the hood's like calling to him. And we end the episode with Riri falling asleep. She wakes up the next morning. Natalie is in the kitchen, and clearly it's AI. You can see like her little like pixels on her face.
Natalie? Well, who the hell else would it be, bitch?
And then Riri passes out, and that's where the episode ends. If it is your first time here, I have a 3-point rating scale. It is one and done. Give it a chance, and I'm in. For this episode, I'm gonna give it a chance. I think that having the character of Riri kind of be like this, how do you say it? Like this foil for almost like Peter Parker, but if Iron Man wasn't there, is kind of a cool idea. Because I feel like, with Spider-Man, in the MCU specifically, everyone's like, oh, Tony Stark's always there, he's always there. And of course, the end of Homecoming, Spider-Man has to become his own person without Tony's suit and all that. But I think having Riri be just the person that's like, how do I be Iron Man and I can't afford the parts, you know what I mean, is a cool idea. I still think that she's a little too cocky. I get that she is a teenager, but sometimes she's just like annoying in a like I don't want to watch you type way. And I'm interested to see, because obviously things are going to go wrong. She's teamed up with some people that are doing some shenanigans, so it's interesting to see like, all right, well, how are you gonna get around this? How far are you gonna get with your new suit? She clearly has to deal with the passing of her friend and stepdad, and having her AI be her dead best friend is kind of cool, especially because it's clearly like, if it mapped her brain, like her AI is gonna have all her friends like intricacies and all that because she knows her so well. So I think there's a lot on the table that seems very interesting. I think the main hesitation of me not being like, I'm in, is Riri's character could easily just be like, oh, I don't want you to talk anymore. And also I think it's just because this is Marvel, and at this point you never know like what you're gonna get, and sometimes there are things that I'm like, why are you even making that show? And then I end up loving it, like Loki, and I enjoyed Agatha, right? But then there are things that I'm super well not. I'm excited for, and then I watch it. And I'm like, that was okay. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think it just being a Marvel property, I'm like, I guess so. I'll watch it a little more, but like I was saying in the beginning of the episode, I've always watched everything pretty much Marvel. I think the only thing I've skipped is What If, just because I tend to not like the premise, and I wish that there are different art styles and stuff like that. But other than that, like all the live action stuff I've watched, but for some reason this one was off the radar when it came out. I was like, oh, this came out. I still haven't watched the other episodes, so that's why there's no spoilers for the end of this. The only thing I know, which is a minor, or I guess the biggest spoiler of the show, so be warned of this one thing that I know, is that there's a certain character, I'll keep it vague, there's a certain character that shows up at the end of the show who is very related to Ghost Rider, which is my favorite character of all time, or favorite superhero of all time. And I'm like, are we gonna, I doubt we're gonna get him because Marvel hates me, but that's the only reason I would even watch this show, is just to see like what's up with that. But yeah, this one just flew by the radar, pun intended, and I just wasn't like, I gotta watch this. So who knows if I'll actually watch the rest of the season, or if it'll even come up in anything else. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if this just came out and then maybe she pops up in, you know, like Secret Wars or whatever, and it's like, all right, we're never gonna actually deal with anything that happens in her story. I think Marvel's in such a weird place where I feel like every once in a while we get a lot of those like, here are the post-credit scenes and like threads that like never went anywhere. I wouldn't be surprised if this was on that list down the line, but I might be wrong. I'm gonna stop rambling. I'm gonna leave it here. Let me know what you thought of this first episode and even the season down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.